Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Although it's just before 10 o'clock, according to the clock on the wall, we'll start, because I think you're all ready. We have reached P in the alphabet, for those of you who've been watching proceedings, and you'll know that that means that this witness, the first witness, is going to be anonymous and be known as Mr. P. And you'll know that that protects his anonymity, because it will be a contempt of court if anyone does anything to reveal his name outside this room and calls him anything other than Mr. P. But I have to make the order formally, and I do so in terms which will be familiar to those, again, who've been here before. And it is this, that the name and address of witness WO279, that's Mr. P, to you and me, and any other identifying information, such as the witness's image or a description of their appearance, cannot be disclosed or published in any form unless express permission is given by me or by the Secretary to the Inquiry acting on my behalf. Witness W0279 must be referred to only as Mr. P. The order remains in force for the duration of the inquiry and at all times thereafter, unless otherwise altered, and I may vary or revoke the order by making a further order during the course of the inquiry. That's the order. That gives him protection. It will be observed by the press, and as I always do on these occasions, can I ask you to be very careful if you're taking photographs on your mobiles, however much you may wish to take the photograph, just check that you don't accidentally capture an image of him, so that those who are listening outside this room can put two and two together and know who he is. Mr. P.
Mr. P, your full name is known to the inquiry. Could you please take the book in your raised hand and repeat after me? I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give.
That the evidence I shall give.
Shall be the truth.
That shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Mr. P, when you were 9 months old, in 1987, you were rushed into hospital. Can you tell us what had happened?
I was in a baby walker at my mum's friend's house, and I managed to walk myself into the kitchen. And the wire for the kettle was leaning over the side, and I managed to pull the kettle over myself, scalding myself on my chest and on my right arm. The scalds were so bad I was rushed in to A&E, and for burns. So then I was given a blood transfusion through the scars as well as a skin graft. I do believe I may have received plasma as well at the time, because the scars were so bad that they needed to give me some form of clotting agent to stop the bleeds. And
so your understanding from your mum is that you received red blood and plasma.
That's correct, yeah.
Have you got any medical records from that period when you were in hospital with the burns?
I do, yes, but the medical records are missing period from when I was scalded all the way up to when I was about 9 years of age, until I received my first letter from the NHS. These little bits in there, but even they have been cut out from the printout. I've spoke to my GP, and they've said that there's no more medical records that they have got. I have looked into trying to get them from the hospital as well, from where I were. But the hospital itself is now shut down, so I don't know where to turn to try and get my medical records from that time.
You've struggled to get them, so all you've got is bits and pieces from the 9 months to age 9, and it's not entirely clear exactly what you received, but your mum is clear it was red blood and it was plasma.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Was your mum, as far as you know, given any advice or information about the risks of receiving that transfusion?
No.
And then in 1997, you were aged about 9, and you received a letter. Before we talk about that letter, why are you so clear that the letter was sent to you personally rather than your parents?
In the day in question, the letter was received through the door. It had my name on it, and it had 2 love hearts in the top right corner of the envelope. And at the time, I actually thought it was a love letter. So that's why it sticks with me, and I know it was written for me.
And what did that letter say?
As far as I can't 100% remember, I know it was an appointment to go to a hospital, and it was in the state of staying that they may have given me hepatitis C when I received my treatment for my scald when I was 9 months old.
How did you react when you read that letter?
I ignored it. I was 8, 9 at the time. I didn't really understand it. I just handed it to my mother, because then I realised it wasn't actually for me.
You realised it wasn't a love letter?
Yes, I did, yes. I did.
You gave it to your mum?
I did.
And you went up to the hospital just after your, or just before your 9th birthday, around your 9th birthday.
Yep.
And that's when you were diagnosed with hepatitis C.
Yes, I went into the room, and on the day, the nurse that actually took my bloods, she said to me I looked too fit and healthy to have hep C, so I should be all right, don't worry about it. And then I think it was a few weeks later we received the news that I did have hep C.
How were you told that you did?
I think we went for a second appointment. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember, sorry. But I do believe it was a second appointment, and it was addressed to my mother this time, and we was told then.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you think the hepatitis C affected you as you grew up?
I couldn't do what my friends was doing. I know that for a fact. I was told, when I was first told, I was told I couldn't play any contact sports. Football crazy, so to be told I couldn't do something I love was heartbreaking. I couldn't physically go out and play with my friends, play football. I couldn't go climb walls. I had to look after myself like I was an adult from a young age, because I weren't going to put my friends in risk of catching what I had. I was told I was able to pass it on, but only in certain ways. But at a young age, it doesn't mean anything to you. You're just always cautious, and you're always wary of what you're doing.
Once you got to high school, I think you had a bit more of a realisation of what hepatitis C was really about.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you understand to be your life expectancy?
I was told I was going to live between 18 to 30 years from a doctor. By this time, I was going from age 11 and upwards. You're already counting down the years, even from a young age. I knew it's hard knowing that you're going to die at some point, and for someone to tell you that at such a young age, it was terrifying. You withdraw within yourself. You can't do what you want to do. You can't concentrate in school. You can't fulfil your potential, because you don't think you've got potential to live long enough to actually fill a potential. So you don't want to do. I can't. It's hard. It was really hard.
In those early years, who knew that you had hepatitis C?
It was my mother and my father, myself, and the doctors. That was pretty much it at the time, until I got a little bit older. And then you start telling you need to tell your friends, because you need someone to help you look after you when you're out. Some disappeared, some stayed, and the ones that stayed have meant the world to me because they've stayed through thick and thin with me. And that's pretty much it. That now.
What about your brothers?
And not from a young age. It wasn't till they got old enough to understand what was going on. From a young age, I was people said I was treated as the golden boy. I was looked after better than it was looked like I would look better than everyone else. I was treated different, and my brothers didn't understand. They just thought that I was a special one, and it was hard. I knew why, but until they was old enough to realise and understand what was going on, I can see why they felt the way they did.
And how did it affect your relationship with your parents?
I won't say it affected them. I think they did look after me a lot more. They was a lot more cautious in what we did. I wouldn't talk to them about anything. I've always kind of dealt with it on my own. I never wanted to be an extra burden as what I was already.
Why didn't you want to ask your mum questions about hepatitis C?
I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know. It was bad enough knowing that I had up to the age of 30 to live. I didn't want to know anymore. It was hard enough as a child to deal with what I was going through with that alone, never mind asking any more questions.
You've said in your statement that the hepatitis C has made your family life now, with your children, difficult as you bring them up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you're always cautious of what you can do with your children. You're always scared of passing it on. If they cut themselves, I would get my wife to deal with it, just because I was always scared. I don't want them to grow up with what I had to grow up with. It's hard as well because I'm not always a nice person. I have really severe mood swings. 1 minute I could be really extremely happy, and the next minute I could just be shouting at any of them for no reason. Psychologically, it's hard on them as well because they don't understand what's going on. It's always, Daddy's got a poorly liver, or Daddy's got to go see the doctor again. It's just hard. It's really hard on the children.
When your wife was pregnant, there was also a particularly difficult interaction that she had with a health visitor, which I think you only found out afterwards.
I did, yes.
But what happened?
At the time, she went for an appointment with the health visitor, and the Hep C got brought up just so she knew what was going on.
Can we stop the live transmission, please?
Sorry.
Don't worry, it's so easily done. We'll just wait a moment and our technology people will tell us when we're good to start again. Okay. We'll restart and I'll ask you the same question again, okay? When your wife was pregnant, there was also a particularly difficult interaction that she had with a health visitor that you only found out about later. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, my wife had an appointment with the health visitor, and Hep C were brought up because we wanted to make sure everything was fine and my wife would be looked after in the right way and have all the checks done. And the health visitor told my wife that she hopes I've changed my lifestyle and I've stopped taking drugs and drinking alcohol. She automatically assumed that I was a drug addict, and I got my hepatitis C from being a drug addict, even though I got it from a blood transfusion when I was younger. And every time we had an appointment from there on. It was stated where I got my Hep C from, and every doctor I spoke to, because you always felt like the impression was they thought I was a drug addict, always.
And you felt the need in every appointment to explain how you contracted hepatitis C.
I did, yes. I didn't want them to think I was a drug addict. I was 9 months old. I was never even thought of. Even growing up, it was never even thought of. So I had to explain myself to someone because they were ignorant and automatically assumed where I may have got it from.
Now, in terms of treatment you've received, you believe that that while you were a child, you underwent some experimental treatments for the hepatitis C. What can you remember about those?
Treatment was terrible. You was always ill when you had them. I've had so many, it's hard to remember which ones are which, but you always ended up with the same feelings. You didn't want to get out of bed. You had constant headaches, or constantly sore. One of the first ones I had, it was the local nurse has to come in and inject me, and I had to take urine samples every time to make sure there was no blood in my urine. It was time off school from a young age because of the effects it was having on me. It was time away from my friends. I wasn't a normal child because of these injections. I was ill. I was really ill because of them.
And then in adulthood, you've had 3 rounds of treatment to try and clear the virus.
That's correct, yeah.
What can you tell us about those?
The first one was meant to last for 12 months. I didn't get past 3 months. The interferon was dropped in dosage because of the amount of weight I was losing and how ill I was because of the treatment. With the first one as well, I was, if I remember right, I was over a million count on my Hep C count, and it would needed to get below 1 million, and I never got close. So it was dropped and finished. The second one. In
the first one, you remember being in bed. In your statement, you remember being in bed
yes.
for about 5 months.
Yes, even after the treatment finished, I was in bed. I didn't feel myself. I didn't want to go face the world, especially afterwards when you're told it's not worked as well. That has a psychological effect on you. They build you up, telling you that there's a good chance of it working, and for it not to work, you do go in a depression state. You know you're going to start again. It's not going to change.
The second time round was for about 6 months.
Yes, the second time. This time we did pass the marker stage, but then again it failed. Again, it was just physically feeling ill. I couldn't again get out of the bed, and this time out I had my first child. I was stuck in bed and trying to explain to my child why I'm in bed, or why I can't go out, and why I can't play with him, or why you can't come upstairs. It was hard. I was physically had, like, especially after the injection, I felt like I had a cold all the time. I was shivering. I couldn't get warm. The aches and pains all over my body was terrible. It was really hard to deal with.
You've talked about that second treatment of you sitting down and arguing with the injection pen.
Yes.
What was going through your mind at that point? What were you saying to the injection pen?
I was arguing with it. I was telling myself and telling the pen how fed up I were with the pen. It's not nice having to sit there on your edge of the bed every week, looking at it and injecting yourself. And it got to the stage where I felt to myself I couldn't do it anymore unless I motivated myself by arguing with a pen. And that's the only way I got through it, was arguing with a pen. And then it got to the point where you argued with it, and then you stabbed yourself because you're still arguing and you're not thinking about what you're doing. It was terrible.
And then the third treatment was just for 12 weeks,
Yep.
2015. And how was that?
Like the rest of them. But this time, they say it's worked. They say it's gone, and they say I'm clear. But it was exactly the same as the rest. You still deal with the side effects. You deal with your children, and it's a situation I should never have found myself in the first place.
Emotionally, how did you find that third round?
I didn't really want to do it. The last two experiences of knowing it never worked, it was a sense of feeling it was never going to work. I was going to have to deal with this for the rest of my life. To be fair, I didn't really want to go on it, no matter how much they promised me it was going to work, because I've been there and I've done it. I didn't want to inject myself again. I knew I was going to get to the point of fighting and arguing with a pen again. I didn't want to have to take tablets twice a day. I didn't want to have to explain to my kids why I can't go out, why I can't play with them. It makes you depressed. You just didn't want to go to that place again. I've been there so many times, and it's a road that never seemed to end. Don't get me wrong, I'm fortunate, I am clear, but I never felt I was going to get there. Even when she told me, I didn't believe her. I expected to go back in a few months, and it's come back. It always came back, and that's how it was. It was always coming back.
You said you didn't want to get your hopes up, only to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. That's
it
correct.
didn't work again.
Yes. It does kill you when it does come back. It knocks your life back. It puts you in a dark place. You're alone. Even though I've got family around me, you're alone. You deal with it all yourself. I'm not I'm not the kind of person that speaks to people. I like to keep inside. I like to deal with it myself. It's going to sound wrong, but I'm the man. I'm meant to be the person in the house that deals with everything. And when that's taken away from you, because you've been put in a situation where you should never have been put in, and you can't be the man of the house anymore, it's destroying.
Because you've cleared the virus now, but you still have liver cirrhosis.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And physically, what symptoms have you been left with?
I suffer from a lot of short-term memory loss. It's got worse over the last few years, to the point where I could be told something. Even for the inquiry, I've been receiving emails. I read the emails, I look at the emails, and then it'll be 4 or 5 days later, something will be brought up. I'll go through my emails again, and then I'm just like, oh, I didn't do this. I should have emailed them this. It's every day I'm losing bits of my memory, and it's hard knowing that I'm getting told stuff, and it could be important stuff, and I still forget. Being depressed, I still believe I am in many respects, a little bit depressed, even though it's gone. I'm extremely tired all the time. I could have 12 to 16 hours sleep if I could get it, and I'll still be physically drained all the time. I wake up tired. I'm tired in the day. I'm tired at night. It's just a constant cycle.
You've also got pain in the right-hand side of your stomach and the rib area.
Yeah, that's constant.
You've also spoken about the mood swings that
Yes,
you still suffer from.
I still have real bad mood swings. It's all the time. You know, I could be really nice and then switch, and it's from nowhere and for nothing. I don't have to. There doesn't have to be a trigger to make me switch. I just switch from being nice to being horrible, and it's not nice.
Your wife works away from home 2 nights a week. What effect do your symptoms have on family life, particularly when she's away?
She's got to ring me in the morning to wake me up. I can set so many alarms, I don't hear them. My daughter comes into the room, tries waking me up. I'm so far gone. I'm so tired. I don't physically want to get out of bed. It takes the wife ringing me and shouting at me to get out of bed for me to get out of bed. Don't get me wrong, my kids aren't in any danger, and if anything were to happen like that, I can deal with it. It's hard. I shouldn't be like this. I'm fit. I'm kind of healthy. I'm working on trying to get myself back into the right place I should be. I shouldn't be this tired all the time. But everything I try, it doesn't work. I'm still tired, and it's hard.
It's then a struggle to get the kids to
It
school
is,
in
yeah.
time and up and ready in the morning.
By the time my wife rang me and woke me up, I've probably got 20 minutes to get both of my kids ready, fed and taken to school. It's a bit like Piccadilly Gardens in the morning. It's that hectic in my house. It's just ridiculous.
You've spoken a little bit about the emotional impact and the ongoing depression that you feel you suffer. Have you been offered any counselling or psychological support during this time?
I have. But again, I feel like it's easy to deal with it with myself. I don't want to keep talking to people about what's gone on, why I feel like this. I just feel like I just keep going round in circles. It's easy enough to do it with myself. I do get myself out of the depression zone. It just sometimes takes a little bit longer. I can't talk. I don't like talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. It'll just keep going back and keep going back. When
you were growing up, how did your hepatitis C diagnosis affect your career aspirations?
Well, when I was younger, I had trials for a professional club. I was told I couldn't play because of it. So that was knocked on the head straight away. So that was one of my dreams gone. The biggest dream I had was to join the army. My father did it, my grandfather did it, and from a young age it was all about protect the Queen and country. And then at the age of 16, I went to my local recruitment centre, did all the tests in the recruitment centre, and then the question came up about medical history. It was spoke about having Hep C, and I was told to have to refer it to the forces medical team, and I would have to wait, see if I would be allowed to go in. And this was the biggest dream, and the weeks and weeks went by, and then all of a sudden I received a phone call telling me, your dream's over, you're not allowed in. Now, that took me back. I couldn't, for a long while, get over that. That's all I ever wanted to do, was join the army. But I knew where I wanted to go in the army. I had my career plan set out in the army from a young age. I knew exactly where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be, and how far I wanted to take it. And for someone to tell you you can't do your dream because you were put in a situation from being given something from a young age, it did make me really depressed. And to be fair, I don't even think I've actually ever got over it, even to the day. That's all I ever, even when I got the all clear, this is how much I wanted to do it. I got the all clear, and the first thing I did was I rang the TA, because I was too old to join the army by then. I could join the TA still. I rang him up and told him, it's gone, but I do still have liver cirrhosis. Can I get in? Within 5 minutes of being on the phone, she rang somebody else and then came back to me and said, no, you've still got antibodies in your system and you've still got liver cirrhosis. You still can't join. So again, it's still taking me back. And I still, like I say, I can't get over it.
You've said in your statement that the hepatitis C just takes everything away from me. It brings on a burden and rips away all my aspirations.
It has done. It still does. And to say, I've told you my biggest dream, that was taken away. Football was taken away. I grew up with football. I couldn't do it. there isn't anything it lets you do. Police force, couldn't join that, couldn't be a paramedic. I just couldn't do anything to help anybody in a career path of going out to help people. I couldn't do. They limited you on what you could do from a young age, and it's just not fair.
You worked for a number of years as a train conductor and had difficulties managing that. You underwent a performance management on a number of occasions. What happened in relation to the performance management?
Getting up late for work, because I was tired. They're not the best of shifts in the world, but it was something I enjoyed doing. So I plodded on, I tried. But the last 5 years of being a train conductor, it got worse. I became ill. I had many times off because of having treatment. And every time I went back, I would be staged to the point where I was staged for at least 3 times, which is normally an instant dismissal. Every time they wanted to do that, they said they couldn't do it because I was covered by the Disability Act. Then all of a sudden, they found a way to dismiss me.
You've moved on now and work as a warehouseman.
Mm-hmm.
How is that?
It's boring. It's not what I want to do. It feels like it's the best I can do.
Because it's 9 till 5.
Yes, it's a little bit easier on the lifestyle, but I'm better than that. I just feel, education-wise, because of the time and length I had off in school, I never learned what I could have. I'm not stupid. I am actually quite clever, but I've got nothing to show for it. My GCSEs weren't great because of the time off school. So I don't feel like I could feel my potential in any role of whatever I wanted to do. And now I'm stuck in a warehouse, not being able to do what I wanted to do. No, I don't want to work in a warehouse, but I've got children. I don't have a choice.
In terms of your financial situation, you've received some payments from the Skipton Fund, from Caxton and from the EIBSS. What are your views of the process involved with those funds?
What I've had, they've been quick. They're not easy. I feel like I've got to explain and I've got to beg for any form of help. Early on, I never asked for anything. I didn't want to go through the process. I know plenty of people that have gone through the process and it was a nightmare. So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to beg for help. But once you're on treatment, you're out of work because of being on treatment. You've got next to no money because of it. You need the help. And it feels like they don't want to help, not without you having to beg them first. They want to know why you want it, how much you're earning, and it's not right. I shouldn't need to beg for help when I've been put in this situation in the first place. It's just not right.
Those are the questions I have for you. Is there anything else you would like to say?
See, I think I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm actually physically fit. But there are plenty out there that have passed away that are more ill than I am. The whole situation should never have been allowed in the first place. I believe they knew about it, and I believe that they've allowed people to suffer for so long in a worse way than I have, and it's wrong. I just want to say I'm grateful, especially for the campaigners, for getting us into this situation where we are now and actually can give our stories across, and that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you very much indeed for coming to tell us what happened to you from getting hepatitis C at such a young age. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a break until 11:05.
Thank you, sir.
11:05.